Now, I had a chance to look at a laptop earlier this year when I went to meet with Lenovo for MWC, and it's something from their Slim line, which they're now calling the Slim line here in the United States, internationally still known by the Yoga. I'm talking about a really interesting device. It's a 14.5-inch device, and it also has a 3K display running the Ryzen 6000 series processor. It's the Ryzen 9 6900HS paired with the NVIDIA RTX 3050 GPU. Yes, I'm talking about the Lenovo Slim 7 Pro X running that AMD Ryzen processor. It's got some really good performance, a gorgeous 3K display with 120 Hz refresh rate. It's got nice battery life, and it has a really nice, sleek look, all packaged in a 14.5-inch chassis. We're gonna take a look at it here today to see if it's actually worth your money. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Lenovo Slim 7 Pro X here for 2022. Coming up. Okay, before we get to the device, I want to let everyone know in the interest of transparency and full disclosure that I'm not being paid by Lenovo, I'm not being sponsored by Lenovo. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Lenovo is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this review unit is on loan from Lenovo, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. The Slim 7 Pro X has a starting price of $1399.99 over at Lenovo.com. And if you want to get the unit I have here today, which is pretty fully decked out, Costco is running a deal for $1599.99, which is pretty good considering what you're getting here. For those interested, I'll leave a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. And with the specs and pricing out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Let's open it up. And they give you a very compact 100-watt USB-C power adapter. It's one of the smallest 100-watt power adapters you will see. And there's the Onyx Gray, and it has a little bit of heft. And let's see what else you get. So you get some documentation, warranty information right there. And let's get it out of the plastic here. Now, holding the unit for the first time, the first thing that strikes you, this all-metal design feels very premium, very high-end, very little, if any, give or flex in the chassis. It's rock solid in terms of the build. And with a starting weight of 1.45 kilograms or 3.2 pounds, pretty svelte, pretty light, considering this is a 14.5-inch device packing a discrete GPU. Okay, let's check out the port selection. On the left side is a USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 port, and next to that are two USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 ports, which are full function. They support data, charge, and display out. Now, there's nothing official, but from what I understand, these can be upgraded through a firmware update to USB-C 4. That would be great. And moving over to the right side is your kill switch for the webcam, a 3.5mm microphone headphone combo jack, another USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 port, and your power button with an LED indicator light within it. Notably missing, there's no SD card reader and there's no HDMI port, but overall I think this is a pretty decent port selection. Now, Lenovo makes it pretty easy to get inside this laptop. There are 5 T5 Torx screws. Remove them. Use a guitar pick or a pry tool to pry off the bottom plate. It's pretty easy, actually. And once you do that, you're in. And once inside, you'll notice the 2 fans for cooling. We'll talk about the thermals, the fan noise, and of course, the surface temperatures a little bit later on. And you'll also notice that 70 watt-hour battery. We'll get into the battery life and charging times in just a little bit. Now, you can configure this with up to 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5 6400 megahertz RAM, and it is running in dual channel mode. Now, I have 32 gigabytes on my unit here, and it's working really great. That's very fast RAM, and I like to see that LPDDR5 RAM here. Now, unfortunately, that RAM is soldered into the motherboard, so you as the user won't be able to upgrade it down the road. Something to be aware of. Now, when it comes to the SSD, this has 1 terabyte of SSD storage, and it's the fast PCIe Gen 4 with excellent reads and writes, as you can see from these results. Now, when it comes to the wireless, this is Wi-Fi 6 along with a Bluetooth 5.1 combo card. Now, it would have been nice to have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2, but I'll take it. I've had no issues so far with either the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth. Both are working perfectly, and it's slotted in. So if you want to change it out down the road, you can. So if you want to put in a Wi-Fi 6E or a Bluetooth 5.2 combo card, you can. Okay, let's talk about the display. And what we have here is a 14.5-inch IPS display with a 3K resolution. That's 3072 by 1920. And yes, that is a 16:10 aspect ratio. It's also an IPS display, so you're going to get the really great viewing angles. And it also is a bright display. Now, they're claiming 400 nits. I actually measured 405 nits, a little bit above what they claim. So that's been pretty good. And then right now, out of the box, people, 60 hertz, but I'm going to put it at 120. It's also got 120 hertz refresh rate, but it is 60 hertz out of the box. So you'll have to go to the advanced settings and put it into the 120 hertz. That will, of course, use more battery life, and we'll get into that in a moment. But as far as this display is concerned, with 120 hertz enabled, you get the really smooth scrolling, the very fluid experience, and it's going to be great for gaming as well. So that has been a great option here, and I like to have that on this 14.5-inch display. Now, as far as the display itself is concerned, you get some really deep blacks, good contrast, good white point, and it also has good color accuracy with a 0.96 delta E score. Remember, anything below 2 is considered color accurate. This doesn't disappoint. Now, I'm not crazy about the coverage of the color gamut. Yes, you do get 100% sRGB, but I'd like to see higher in terms of the Adobe RGB, the DCI-P3 wide color gamut, and the NTSC. So I think it's okay, but I've seen better panels out there for doing color grading, Lightroom, Photoshop, and stuff like that. Consuming media on this has been great. Netflix, Amazon, YouTube have been great. No complaints on that. It's a really nice display. And the touch layer is very responsive. Navigating the OS with your finger has been really great. Nice convenience feature, of course. Now, there is no pen support for those wondering, but great to have touch on this laptop, that's for sure. Now, one thing to note, it is a glossy display, and you will notice glare and reflections depending on your lighting conditions, something to be aware of. And it's also a TÜV Rheinland display with a low blue light filter, so that's always good, of course, to help reduce the chances of eye strain. Now, that 120 hertz refresh rate is an adaptive refresh rate, and it also supports NVIDIA's G-Sync, and I gotta like that in terms of the gaming, of course. So a lot of features here for this 14.5-inch display, and my overall takeaway is it's an excellent display.
So this is the camera on the brand new Slim 7 Pro X with the AMD Ryzen processor here in 2022 from Lenovo. It's a 1080p IR webcam. That means you can log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. It also has a kill switch on the side for the webcam. So if you want more security and privacy, you have it. And there is no fingerprint scanner on this. So the only way to log in with Windows Hello is through the face recognition, and setup was easy and it worked well. But I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality of the mics? Again, let me know in that comment section below.
And for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger. Good job on the hinges. Now, very little screen wobble is also detected on this. Now, this can go back as far as 180 degrees, as you see here. And the keyboard is actually pretty good. Now, it has those familiar smile-shaped keys. The key travel is a little bit on the shallow side, but it had good tactility, and it never feels like your fingers are going to bottom out. Good for comfortable typing for extended periods of time. And it also has a multi-stage backlight, allowing you to get work done in a dark room or a dimly lit environment. Now, the glass precision touchpad worked well in terms of the two-finger scrolling, and all the gestures work as you'd expect. Very good in that regard as well. Okay, let's talk performance here, and this is running the AMD Ryzen 9 6900HS paired with the NVIDIA RTX 3050 GPU. And as you can see from these benchmark numbers, very impressive indeed. This is a great all-around general-purpose laptop to do Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, some 4K video editing, and of course some gaming. We'll get to that in a moment. But where this really shines is going to be in the multi-core performance of the Cinebench R23. It scored a whopping 13,654, which tells you that it will hardly thermal throttle, meaning it did really well on a heavy sustained workload. That's what this test accounts for. And when it comes to single core performance, it had a decent number, but more of middle of the pack or towards the bottom of the pack when you compare it to some of the competition. And when it comes to the Geekbench test, when it comes to the single core score, I say it's okay in terms of the number, respectable. And the multi-core, the same thing, not the greatest number we see here, but where it does shine is in that heavy sustained workload on that Cinebench R23. Now, as far as gaming is concerned, as I mentioned, this has the RTX 3050 discrete GPU. And if you lower some of the settings and play with some of the settings, you can get really playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles, as you see here. Apex Legends, GTA 5, Cyberpunk 2077 even had some pretty playable frame rates. FIFA 21, I think you get the idea here. And the reason we're seeing good multi-core score performance on that Cinebench R23 is the very little, if any, thermal throttling I detected when you put it under heavy load, maintaining good clock speeds throughout. Now, as far as the surface temperatures are concerned, it didn't get overly warm in terms of that surface temperature, but there are a couple of hot spots, one above the keyboard, as you see here, and one on the underside, but never too hot to the touch. And you can definitely use this on your lap. It doesn't get too hot for that. So pretty good overall in terms of those surface temperatures. And the fans will kick in under heavy load, and you will notice them especially in the ultra performance mode or the extreme performance mode, and that will definitely be heard by you. It's 45, 46 decibels, but in the other modes, and you're doing normal tasks, you don't hardly hear the fans. They come on intermittently, but remained relatively quiet. Good job on that front. And as I mentioned earlier, this has a 70 watt-hour battery, and it did 8 hours and 21 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits with 120 hertz refresh rate enabled. If you bump it down to 60 hertz, it did 10 hours and 12 minutes on that same test. What we're really looking at overall is about a 6 to 8 hour device, depending on what you're doing. So everybody's use case is a little bit different, so your mileage may vary. And with the included 100 watt USB-C power adapter, it takes about an hour and a half for a full charge. Not too bad. Now, when it comes to the audio, this sports two 2-watt Harman speakers. I thought the volume was good, mids were good, and there was some bass. Overall, pretty good job. Now, let's give a listen to Epidemic Sound. If you want to save 10% on Epidemic Sound, see the link in the description below. Now, let's give a listen to how these speakers sound. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Lenovo Slim 7 Pro X with the AMD Ryzen processor here for 2022? Very impressive indeed that they were able to put in a 14.5-inch device, a discrete GPU, in such a thin and light portable design. That is pretty impressive in terms of engineering. They were able to get the thermals right on this, and the performance, especially when it comes to multi-core performance in a heavy sustained workload, did really well. Very impressive indeed. Throw in some pretty decent battery life, despite the fact that even under 120 hertz, it was pretty decent. But if you bump it down to the 60 hertz, you'll get even more battery life. So it's a really nice, efficient chipset as well. But of course, everybody's use case is a little bit different, so your mileage may vary. Throw in two really nice 2-watt Harman speakers. You got the upgradable SSD, and it's a fast SSD with those numbers we saw. Faster RAM here with LPDDR5 6400, and it has a full HD 1080p webcam with a kill switch that I thought was pretty good for your video conferencing needs. The negatives here, of course, no HDMI, no SD card reader. The RAM is soldered into the motherboard, and it's USB-C 3.2 Gen 2, not the USB-C 4. Now, having heard the rumors, it might be upgraded via firmware to USB-C 4. I have nothing official, but once I do hear something, I'll let everybody know. But there's no doubt about it, Lenovo has a winner on its hands. I'm going to give the Lenovo Slim 7 Pro X here in 2022 a score of 87%, making it worth your money. So what do you think about this bad boy, the Slim 7 Pro X, or internationally known as the Yoga Slim 7 Pro X? AMD Ryzen 9 6900HS, RTX 3050, the performance, especially if sustained heavy workload. With that Cinebench R23 test, you saw the numbers. It's really good on this. Single core, I would say, is middle of the pack, but certainly very good in terms of what you need it to do for everyday tasks, Microsoft Office, email, web browsing. It all worked well. Now, battery life will improve significantly if you go down from the 120 to the 60 hertz. You saw a couple of more hours, or at least a couple more hours on that test. And of course, not too bad even with the 120 hertz, which will give you that really smooth experience, that really fluid experience when it comes to scrolling, gaming, and stuff like that, navigating through the OS. Now, this is the Onyx Gray. It's like a dark gray. It looks really nice. The keyboard deck has the familiar storm gray color, so very sleek and modern look. The 3K IPS display, 3072 by 1920, 16:10 aspect ratio, and again, the high refresh rate makes this a very intriguing choice. It's a highly glossy display. You will notice glare and reflections depending on your lighting conditions. Now, as I showed earlier, the pricing starts at $13.99 over at Lenovo's website. As configured here today, $15.99 over at Costco gets you that terabyte of that very fast PCIe Gen 4 storage. LPDDR5 6400 megahertz RAM, that's very fast RAM, and it's 32 gigabytes, which is great. And it also has, of course, the discrete GPU. We mentioned all that. So check it out. Link will be in the description below. I'm not affiliated with Costco, so I'm not getting anything from them, but it is a good deal considering the price to performance ratio. It's a lot of bang for the buck. $1,600 is nothing to sneeze at, but considering what you're getting, I think it's a really good deal. But I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.